Hello, I'm Michael Price from the retail support team at Panasonic, and we've got here the new Lumix GH3, and this is the very latest in the Lumix G lineup of compact system cameras, and this one's right at the top of our range. It's our most professional, semi-professional camera, and really appealing to those top-end photographers who want great still photography, but also very high-end video photography. So some of the new features we've got here: a new 16 million pixel sensor, newly designed for this camera. We've got new processing. It's very fastest in terms of frames per second and focus speed. And then on the video side, lots of great advantages. It's now up to 1080 50p recording. It can also record in intra-eye compression, which means that every single frame is encoded separately, so great for professional video editing. And it actually meets the standard for the European Broadcasting Union in terms of bit rate. So it's a really high-end video tool, as well as a really nice camera for enthusiasts. So we've got a much improved high dynamic range mode. We've got a great new time-lapse feature, multiple exposures, lots of great things here for the high-end photographer and the high-end videographer. It's actually 72 megabits per second, and that's in the intra-eye mode, and that gives you, that's only at 25 frames per second, but what that's doing is it's encoding the data differently. Most video compression compresses over time, so 30 frames will be compressed as one unit almost, whereas this takes every single frame and encodes it separately. So it's giving you that very precise information required for professional editing. Now the 50 frames a second is for the 50p mode, and that means you're getting a very high bit rate, a very high quality of information. So the sample that it's taking, the light, the colour, the information is a much higher level. To give you a comparison, the GH2 was around about 23 megabits per second. So this is incredibly high quality video. The AVC HD is at 50 megabits per second. We can also shoot MP4 at 50 megabits per second, so giving that much more compatibility for PCs. And new for the GH3 is the MOV format, and that's where you can record in the intra-eye compression of up to 72 megabits per second. So we've got 3 different formats now for video recording. Uncompressed, HDMI output, so suitable for recording as well as live monitoring. So it has a built-in stereo microphone like the previous models. It's also now got built-in mic and headphone jack sockets, so you can monitor the sound much more efficiently, particularly if you're using an external mic, and we'll be bringing out an external boom mic as well with the launch of this camera. RAW on its own, RAW and JPEG at the same time, or just JPEG, and in different compressions as well. It's the same pixel size, so they 16 million pixel images. It's actually a slightly larger sensor than that technically, and it is, although it's the same number of pixels, it is a new sensor for this year. So the difference in terms of the sensor is not so much the pixel count as the extended ISO, which now goes up to 25,600. There's a brand new lens coming at the same time as this camera, which will be a 35 to 100, so in traditional 35mm terms, that's a 70 to 200, so quite a nice telephoto lens, a traditional size of focal length, but crucially it will be f2.8 right throughout the telephoto zoom. So a very high quality lens, and it feeds in with our 12 to 35, the one that I've actually got on this camera here, which is also 2.8 throughout the zoom length, and has picked up quite a few awards. And that brings our total, Panasonic's total of micro four thirds lenses up to 17, and I think we're getting on for award towards 30, 35 when you count Olympus and the third-party manufacturers who are making micro four thirds lenses now. We've actually got a zoom wide angle which will go as wide as 8mm, and our telephoto is our biggest one is a 300mm, so a 600mm equivalent. So a big range with all steps in between. Prime lenses, Leica lenses. We've got a beautiful Leica 1.4 prime lens. Pancake lenses, obviously one of the benefits of this system is the portability, so very, very small lenses. Power zoom lenses. We've been talking a lot about video. We've got lenses which have built-in zoom motors that you can operate from the camera. So for that smooth zoom effect that you get traditionally with camcorders, and is usually quite hard to replicate on an SLR. Okay, well, you've got your mode dial. Like on our traditional camera, we've got the drive mode, single shot, timer, burst mode. But new on this one, we've got 3 new shortcut keys for white balance, ISO and exposure value, and a new control wheel, quite a large tactile one, for adjusting shutter or aperture depending on what mode you're in.
Are there any customizable function keys on there?
There are, yeah. On the back here, we've actually got well, there's one on the top, but there are 4 more on the back. So 5 direct buttons on there, and you can actually add more buttons virtually by putting them on the screen as well. So 5 hard buttons actually on the body of the camera, and a couple more using the touch screen. So quite a lot of customizable options.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about the touch screen as well, and the screen itself? What is it, normal LED screen? It's
actually improved for this year, so we're now organic LED or OLED. So that's giving us much better contrast and a much better colour reproduction than we had with LCD, and particularly the speed. So sometimes LCD can be very blurry when you're panning. This keeps up to date much faster.
Is that also in the viewfinder?
Yeah, that's right. So it's a dual OLED, the small one in here and then a 3-inch one on the back, and it's an articulated screen as well, so we can move it around.